People often ask me about my decision to go into OBGYN, and I start by telling them that I told my mom when I was 11 I was going to catch babies when I grew up. And I still love catching those babies. The process of pregnancy and childbirth, they still fascinate me. The power and the strength and the endurance that a woman's body displays during that time still puts me in awe. 25 plus years later, I still love catching those babies. But as I have matured, so too has my appreciation for the field. I found a way to work with women, for women. Now, I may not have been that woman out in the streets burning her bra 40 years ago, but maybe. But I do feel passionate about serving women and raising awareness for issues that affect women. My job lets me do that every day and in my routine, but it also allowed me to step outside my normal world and into a little village called Kapsawar, Kenya. After 2 8-hour plane rides and then an 8-hour off-roading Jeep adventure, my family of 4 found ourselves in this remote village of Kapsawar. And for a couple weeks, I was able to volunteer my services as an OBGYN in a little missionary hospital. Most of the experiences were wonderful. I did get to catch some babies. I got to save a baby's life by doing an emergency cesarean section. And I even got to help participate in surgically creating a vagina for a young adolescent girl born without one. Not all of the experiences were so wonderful. Almost every woman that I spoke with there shared a story with me of how she lost a full-term pregnancy to stillbirth, or she lost a newborn in those first few weeks of life. It was an everyday occurrence there, and here it just doesn't happen that often. One of the worst moments of my trip there occurred as I had just stepped out the back door of the hospital to sit on the steps and enjoy some of the views for a few moments of rest between patients. But what I saw was a little rusty white truck backing up into the entrance of the hospital. In the back of the truck lay a woman limp on a makeshift mattress surrounded by her family who were sobbing. As the interpreter rapidly translated their Swahili into the English that I could understand, I learned that the bottom half of her baby had been dangling from her, trapped inside of her for the last 3 hours. To make matters worse, for the last 2 hours, over 60 unpaved miles of traveling ordeal, she had been having brain-injuring seizures. Now, that just wouldn't happen here. All she needed was magnesium. An IV infusion of magnesium would have stopped her seizures cold. They would have saved her brain. A C-section, born when we figured out this baby was breech, would have saved her baby's life. She could have walked home with a baby. Now, we were able to save this woman. She won't ever be the same, physically or emotionally, but we lost her baby that day. The women over there, they don't really need our money. They don't need our super technology. They rarely even need medical supplies. But what they need is us. They need people who are willing to give up our creature comforts and our somewhat lavish lifestyles, even if it's just temporarily, to go over there and to help. They need our skills and our knowledge. They need us. Now, the flip side of that coin is that we often reap rewards that vastly outweigh theirs. Medicine was so pure. It was joyful. It was simple there. Here, I'll admit, it gets a bit tarnished. Whether it's insurance companies, governmental regulations, paperwork, the malpractice system. Here it's complicated, and there it's just simple. You walk into the hospital, you face the first patient of the day, and you just do good. It was joyful. Also, my kids got to experience a whole new world. They got to see and hear and taste things that they would never get the opportunity to do here. We were welcomed into a beautiful land by a beautiful people. And they got to watch their mom live out her faith, because that's a big reason why we were there. You see, spirituality to me is not just about keeping a list of do's and don'ts, keeping a tally of rights and wrongs, but it's about allowing my faith to change me, to make me a better person, and to serve and show love to others, because I have been loved and blessed with so much. Now, I'd like to take 1 minute here and think about you ladies and maybe a couple gentlemen in the audience here, and what skills you have, what knowledge you possess, what passion lies inside you, and see how you could use those to serve others. You see, you might not be over there halfway around the world, because we know there are women right here in need who are suffering. You may not be catching babies. You may not be surgically creating vaginas. But if just a few of us today would hear some of these stories and would have a renewed sense of purpose, then we could create a tidal wave of good instead of the tidal wave of negative we hear on the news every day. Thank you so much for coming, of letting me share my story of Capsuar, and of sharing my passion with you.